Fellas, I stumbled upon a Reddit post asking, what is pop punk? And you know me along with a few fellas in chat, we are the pop punk kings. Something I just noticed right now, it is downvoted like a motherfucker. To be honest, it is Reddit. People get upset and downvote for every little thing. Let's just read, see what it is, and hopefully answer this guy's question. What is pop punk? Silly question, I know, but what makes a band pop punk? I've been going off of feel mainly, but is there any definitive answer or criteria or descriptors? If I were to describe pop punk to somebody, I would say imagine Disney Channel movies like Max Keeble's Big Move and that soundtrack, but with more balls. No, pop punk is like just like basic, like it's punk instrumentals that is like more melodic, like big choruses that are extremely catchy. But there are offshoots that are like more hardcore lenient that can get like more aggressive and in your face. But there are the more popular kind of sounding bands. Like when I think of like hardcore adjacent pop punk, I immediately think of like Sorry So Far and of course No Pressure as an extension. I think of like some of Neck Deep's earlier work, right? Koyo, really good fucking example right now. When I think of like the popular side, I always think of All Time Low. I think of Water Parks. Shit like that. I understand why the question would be asked. Punk is a lot like metalcore now. There's a lot of flavors. Exactly. And like, oh man, we talk about genres and labels so often that I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I don't think it's a silly question at all to ask like, what is pop punk? Because you listen to Koyo, you listen to All Time Low, you say they're both pop punk, and someone can get extremely confused. So I don't think this is a bad question. I know pop punk is a very expansive genre with countless bands throughout its 30, 40, some odd years of existence. Pioneer bands like, ooh, okay. I think I just discovered why it got downvoted so bad. Pioneer bands like Blink-182, The Offspring, Green Day, and Sum 41 are typically what first come to mind when I think of pop punk. Stuff kids 90s, early 2000s would kickflip over garbage too. Okay, so I wouldn't say they pioneered. So, okay, before pop punk, it was skate punk, right? Pop punk is like the evolution of skate punk. It's like skate punk passed down to the torch to pop punk. And when you think of skate punk, you think of like NoFX, MXPX, The Descendants, shit like that. Like Bloom said, I think popularized is the better word. But it's like weird, right? Like if something is considered like skate punk, naturally they'd be in the conversation of pop punk, right? But if we're talking like straight pop punk, I do feel like the bands mentioned like Blink, Green Day, Sum 41, they are like the big three of like some early pop punk. I wouldn't say they pioneered it, but I would say, yeah, they popularized it and they definitely like kicked off the genre and put it in mainstream existence. Skate punk, not really pop punk in my opinion. You don't think so? I feel like skate punk kind of like laid the groundwork, right? And like skate culture bled into pop punk. I guess the biggest difference of skate punk and pop punk is like skate punk was definitely way more hardcore rooted and pop punk like embraced the pop elements a lot more and kind of like made it a more mainstream and digestible sound. But bands that came shortly after that are considered pop punk don't really have the same sound to them. Bands like Fall Out Boy, My Chemical Romance, All Time Low don't have the same vibe as previously mentioned bands. They lean much further into the emotional, well, emo feel. Hold on. Let me break this down. By the way, I'm not shitting on this guy. I'm not shitting on this post, right? I think Reddit is a great place to get shit like this, like questions like this answered. It's just unfortunately riddled with like homunculi that like are just like so snobby and pieces of shit. But anyway, so Fall Out Boy and My Chemical Romance. Well, okay, yeah, Fall Out Boy does have like a lot of pop punk, right? But they are considered third wave emo. Right. And now we're getting like kind of like, I guess I feel like I'm getting snobby with like the labels, right? I guess I'm just trying to kind of assist in this conversation of and like understanding where these bands belong to help this human and anyone else that have similar questions, like help guide them throughout like this side of music. But saying a more emo feel is not wrong at all. I would say like they lean much further into the emotional emo feel. That's not a wrong take. Bands like A Day to Remember, Sleeping with Sirens, and Pierce the Veil lean much further towards a metalcore sound. And artists like Paramore and Avril Lavigne are borderline pop a lot of the time, which makes sense that, which makes sense as it's pop punk, but it still doesn't resemble the likes of older pop punk bands, in my opinion. So Sleeping with Sirens and Pierce the Veil and A Day to Remember. So, okay, A Day to Remember has pop punk songs, but they also have post-hardcore songs. I consider, and also like easycore songs, right? We're getting deep in, bro. We're getting into the thick of it now. A Day to Remember, Sleeping with Sirens, and Pierce the Veil are just post-hardcore. All three of these bands have been on pop punk tours, right? Like A Day to Remember has literally been on a tour with like, they did a tour with like fucking The Wonder Years, The Story So Far. They recently toured with 4 Years Strong, The Story So Far, right? Origami Angel, I think. Sleeping with Sirens toured with like State Champs. Lean much further into towards a metalcore sound. By metalcore sound, I think he's just referring to like breakdowns and screams. And then when he says, and artists like Paramore and Avril Lavigne are borderline pop a lot of the time, which makes a lot of Paramore. Their earlier work is literally pop punk, and Avril Lavigne is also pop punk. I see posts from this sub talking about bands that I wouldn't really consider pop punk immediately. Bands like Rise Against, Rain City Drive, and Stand Atlantic, I'd classify as alt rock, metalcore, and pop respectfully. Rain City Drive is like Rain City Drive is literally like the whole like pop metalcore thing. They're like hopping on that trend. Rise Against, I wouldn't consider pop punk. And Stand Atlantic is another band I don't listen to enough, but I'm pretty sure they are pop punk. I could be wrong. I don't listen to them enough. Basically, at what point is it no longer pop punk, and or what makes something pop punk? So we already answered what makes something pop punk, but I don't, because it's like so broad, I don't know if there is a line, right? Because if somebody says A Day to Remember pop punk, I like, fair. At what point is it no longer considered pop punk? I would say it's just dependent on like how heavy it gets, I guess, right? Because the pop punk line can easily like branch off into post-hardcore territory and easily like branch off into like pop rock, I guess, or like alternative pop or something. So, I mean, I don't know how to answer that question. Like, at what point is it no longer pop punk, if I'm keeping it a buck with you? But let's see what the comments say. Pop punk is a punk vibe and style and themes, like politics, youth, snarky, comedy, rebellious attitude, inclusiveness, etc. I guess, yeah. So, okay, that's also important, right? Like, I guess, ethics of the band. Because what makes pop punk like punk is not just instrumentally, but like the messaging, I guess, behind it sometimes, and just like what they stand for and shit. Like, you can't be a pop punk band and like be racist. You know, then you're just not like a punk band. Does easycore still stay in pop punk though? They can get very heavy with the breakdowns. Easycore, the thing about easycore is like, I don't think, and this is just like me keeping it 100 with you, easycore, I guess, can sometimes lean more metalcore, but it just depends on the band, because I feel like easycore is watered down metalcore. Watered down, like, catchy metalcore, because they're just not talented enough to play metalcore. and it's coming from a guy that, like, easycore is, like, one of my favorite genres of all time. I'm just like, let's keep it real here. Easycore is just a bastard child of metalcore and pop punk, claimed by neither foster home to foster home. Yeah, like easycore, it's just like a fun, self-aware genre. But with a more pop sensibility when it comes to mixing, focus on catchy choruses, features, and a more mainstream radio appeal that gets rid of a lot of the grimy and underground sound from normal punk music in favor of making it more digestible to average everyday listeners, mixing it with power pop. There are, of course, subsets, screamo pop punk, for example. Yeah, I think this guy kind of like said it pretty well, right? Pop punk has elements of both pop music and punk music. I mean, yeah. I guess Dragon Fruit Salty 3873. I guess he kind of said it the best. To be perfectly honest, it's kind of just a vibe. The definition of pop punk, like any music genre, is ultimately subjective. Whether or not a band is pop punk depends on who you ask. The characteristics of the genre are a lot more concrete, but even that is subjective. At the end of the day, if you think a band is pop punk, then they're pop punk. I mean, no, right? Like, I don't know if I 100% agree with that. It being a vibe makes sense, but it's like I'm not gonna listen to like fucking I don't fucking know. I'm not gonna listen to Kublai Khan and be like, yeah, this is a pop punk band because I say it is. Powerwolf is pop punk? Yeah, we can't say Powerwolf is pop punk. We can't say Peeling Flesh is pop punk. Knock Loose is my favorite pop punk band. Yeah, I don't know. See, I can't. I don't know if I agree with that 100%. With all that being said, maybe I should do a pop punk video. I'm surprised I haven't yet.